Call it not an American rebellion. It is nothing more than a Scotch-Irish Presbyterian rebellion. A Hessian officer fighting for the British wrote those words out of pure frustration during the Revolutionary War. He blamed the entire conflict on a single, specific demographic, the Scots-Irish, and he wasn't the only one to see them as a deeply distinct force. Scottish historian Raymond Campbell Paterson later gave this same group a highly unusual, almost mythical designation. He called them the 13th Tribe. To be clear, we must rule out a common point of confusion right away. This has absolutely nothing to do with author Arthur Koestler or his famous 1976 book of the exact same name, which theorizes about the ancestry of Ashkenazi Jews. Paterson deliberately repurposed that evocative phrase for an entirely different group, but it leaves us with an obvious question. Why apply an ancient, biblical metaphor to a diaspora of rugged, rifle-toting Scottish frontiersmen? The answer lies in how this specific history of displacement eventually intersected with the political reality of the 13 colonies. Let's start with the word tribe. The original Scots-Irish were strict Calvinists, Protestants who followed a highly disciplined theology emphasizing God's absolute sovereignty. They read their Bibles closely, and they viewed their environment through an Old Testament lens. Because of this strict theology, they saw themselves as a covenant people. They believed they were a chosen group guided directly by God's providence, a self-perception that directly mirrored the original 12 tribes of Israel. When they faced severe religious and economic persecution from the English crown, they viewed it as their wilderness trials, a test of faith they had to endure while searching for their promised land. That search required movement. In the 1600s, they left the Scottish lowlands, crossing the Irish Sea to Northern Ireland. When persecution followed, they launched a second migration in the 1700s, crossing the Atlantic to reach the American colonies. But wherever they went, they remained isolated. They started out as tough border families in Scotland, living in a harsh, heavily contested environment that taught them to rely solely on themselves. When they moved to Ireland, they built a cultural wall around their communities. They stayed entirely separate from the native Catholic Irish population, and they rejected the English Anglican authorities who ruled over them. This sustained period of migration and physical hardship replaced their original national ties. By the time they boarded ships for North America, they had become a distinct cultural force, a self-contained tribe. That brings us to the second half of the title, the number 13. This is a direct nod to their foundational impact on the original 13 American colonies, though their arrival was anything but a warm welcome. When they landed in ports like Philadelphia, the established English Puritans and Quakers looked down on them. They were dismissed as rough, unrefined outsiders. Facing immediate rejection from the coastal elites, this diaspora packed up their wagons and moved deep inland, settling in the unforgiving Appalachian frontier. Living out in the wilderness suited them perfectly. Decades of fighting border skirmishes back in Europe, combined with intense religious persecution, had bred a deep, inherent distrust of royal authority and government overreach. This historical map shows exactly where they settled. Notice how the Scots-Irish populations hugged the western, inland boundaries along the Appalachian Ridge, far removed from the royal governors on the coast. From Pennsylvania down to Georgia, they formed a massive geographic shield. When the British Army marched inland during the American Revolution, they ran straight into a heavily armed population that despised the crown. They were the most combat-ready rebels on the continent. The very people who had been pushed to the margins of colonial society now occupied the exact terrain the British military needed to control to end the war. The designation of a 13th tribe captures the moment where religious conviction and geographic isolation converged to form a new American identity. They began as a wandering, persecuted diaspora, endlessly searching for a place that would leave them alone. They ended up as the deeply rooted foundation of a brand new nation. For the politicians in Philadelphia, the Revolutionary War was a debate over taxation and representation. But for the frontiersmen holding the line in the woods, it was a deeply personal, holy war against a familiar enemy. American independence was the final, triumphant chapter of a multi-generational quest. After crossing a sea, surviving an ocean, and fighting through the wilderness, the 13th tribe had finally secured their promised land.